Bill Carroll, Zenny62 Media. Of course, I've made a long and more in-depth uh, prediction video. I will get to that in a moment, but right now I'm just going to talk very briefly about some of the factors that play into these games. The Houston Texans, of course, are a great story. I'm super excited about the future for D'Amico Ryans, and of course, Culbridge Bernard Stroud the fourth is one of the best stories in the NFL, and his play as a rookie is beyond exceptional. The story of the game, however, will be how the Texans defense, which is a good but not great one, deals with the threat not only of Lamar Jackson as a runner and passer, but run after the catch. There's a lot of very good run after the catch receivers on the Ravens team. Zay Flowers is extremely explosive after the catch. He's essentially their version of Tank Dell, though he's obviously, thick, shorter and thicker. Well, Dell is sort of a miniature Devontae Smith, which sounds funny because he's not the biggest cat in the world either. But can they rally up, stop players without giving them run after the catch, and can they have a very disciplined approach plan to rushing Lamar Jackson? Because if you get out of your rush lanes, if you're rushing Lamar Jackson and you give him avenues of escape, you will pay and pay dearly. Not just with him taking off, but him extending plays and making big plays down the field. Mark Andrews, who will probably be on a pitch count, but he's back. Isaiah Likely is, of course, a guy that has filled in ably for him. And the Ravens are a team that can beat you multiple ways. They, once again, are still one of the better running teams, but they have now, at least in part, thanks to Coach Monken and others, that have worked to massage, to fix, to whatever term you want to use, that passing game. They're going to look like a different team, quite frankly, at times. There are some things that also will make a difference on the other side of the ball in terms of injuries. I'm just going to walk through some of the more important injuries. And some of the players who were out are players who were just out because they would have been inactive anyway, like Malik Cunningham, who they recently brought onto the team, Tylan Wallace, who was a 1 or 2 week hero with some big plays he made in special teams. The big inactive, of course, is Marlon Humphrey, who is one of the sort of kingpins of the back end of that defense, and they still have some guys they can really count on, including the young Kyle Hamilton, but losing Humphrey is big. Delshon Phillips, is another sort of special team reserve guy. Sam Mustipher gives them some depth on the interior of the offensive line, but he will be missed. Saleh Amove Laulu, there we go, Laulu, is also another guy that would have been on added interior depth, but they'll be missing him. Josh Johnson is, of course, the well-traveled original quarterback, right, of Coach Harbaugh, the elder. When Jim Harbaugh first became a coach at University of San Diego, that was his first starting quarterback, and he's still collecting game checks. So winner in my book. The Texans will have Case Keenum, of course, who was a backup for them. Jerry Hughes, who, once again, there's a guy who's managed to have a nice long career that some people called him a bust at one point in Buffalo, but he's been an unbust since then. Nick Broker is another guy that is an interior center guard type guy. He will be inactive. Eric Saubert's inactive, as is Tyir Tart, who has been an interior defensive line rotational player. Mark Andrews has been limited practice, but he's going to be able to go. Devin Duvernay fought through a back injury. He's going to be able to go. Zay Flowers had a tight calf, but he's going to be able to go. He's playing. And Duffy Owe had an ankle, but he's going to play with it. And for the Texans, Andrew Beck did not practice, but my understanding is he's going to play. Dieter Esselson is another guy who didn't practice, and he's probably not going to play. Shaq Mason was just a veteran rest kind of situation. He'll be playing. Sheldon Rankins, mostly rest, but a shoulder and ribs, didn't practice, but he should be able to go. Tunstall, once again, was a guy that just a veteran rest day. Will Anderson had an ankle, practiced in limited fashion, but he'll be playing, as will Blake Cashman and Malik Collins. Both of them were limited, but will be able to go. Jonathan Greenard, also another guy with a banged up ankle, he's going to go. John Mechie, the once sort of ballyhooed, but sadly oft injured wide receiver, fighting through a foot. He's going to be able to play, as will Robert Woods with the hip. So both teams have some guys who are banged up. Most of these guys are sort of reserves, but the big exception, of course, being Marlon Humphrey. Not having Marlon Humphrey is going to be something they're going to have to work around, because that is a very good passing game that they're going to be facing. So it's not a great team to have, guys nicked up in your secondary when you're facing them. Once again, I do believe the Ravens will have enough. I do believe also this game will be closer. So I won't be shocked if the Ravens do not cover, but I do believe that they'll win. I think they're a touchdown team, still a touchdown better than these very, very impressive young Texans. And I'm going to talk about the next game next. But once again, Bill Carroll for Zenny62 Media. I'll be watching this game with great interest. And of course, I assume you will as well.